Michael Jackson's only daughter, 27-year-old Paris, walking into a Los Angeles court Wednesday morning, seeking transparency and accountability from the executors of her father's estate.
For years, everyone just speculated. No one could categorically state whether it was true or not. It was even more difficult because of how much Michael Jackson loved and treated her. However, just recently, Paris Jackson, the daughter of music icon Michael Jackson, confirmed the rumors. This was after DNA test results surfaced. This admittance is shaking how some people now view the Jackson legacy and opens up a deeper conversation about identity, fatherhood, and truth. Join us in this video as we look through the details of the rumor Paris Jackson just confirmed following shocking DNA results. Michael Jackson's journey to fatherhood. Back in 1996, Michael married Debbie Rowe, a dermatology nurse who worked with Arnold Klein in Beverly Hills. Their wedding was simple, held in Sydney, but it marked a turning point in his life. After years of fame and pressure, Michael had one clear desire: to build a real family. 2 years later, Paris Michael Catherine Jackson was born in California. She was legally registered as his daughter, with Michael listed as her father. According to those close to him, he was deeply involved in raising his children. Paris and her brother, Prince, often spending time with them at his famous home, Neverland Ranch. But now, with these new claims resurfacing, the story many believe for decades is being questioned once again. Paris and her brother were raised away from the spotlight, both homeschooled to keep their lives private. Even though Michael Jackson rarely appeared in public with them, he often spoke about his children with pride in private conversations. As time went on, his relationship with Debbie Rowe drew intense media attention, especially when details about Paris's background began to circulate. Debbie reportedly made it clear to those close to her that their arrangement was intentional. Michael wanted to be a father, and she chose to help make that happen. That understanding became a key part of how their marriage was later viewed. Before their marriage, Debbie had worked closely with Arnold Klein, Michael's longtime dermatologist. The three shared a close professional and personal connection, often seen together at the clinic and at private gatherings. Over time, that link would draw even more public curiosity. Still, when Paris was born, Michael never wavered in how he felt. He described her birth as one of the happiest moments of his life. In a 1997 interview, he put it simply: he loved his children deeply. They were everything he had dreamed of. Within 3 years, Debbie had 2 children with him. After that, the marriage ended. As part of their agreement, Michael was granted full custody, while Debbie received financial compensation. After the separation, Debbie Rowe stepped away from public life, choosing to stay out of the spotlight. Meanwhile, Michael Jackson brought his children fully into his world at Neverland Ranch. He created a highly controlled, private environment, complete with a homeschool, playground, and tight security, where they could grow up away from public scrutiny. Paris was raised in that secluded space, surrounded by her father's attention and a small circle of trusted staff. She was rarely seen outside the estate, and when she was, Michael often covered his children's faces with masks or scarves, something the media widely interpreted as his way of protecting their childhood from constant attention. Even after their marriage ended, Michael and Debbie remained in contact for years. Debbie reportedly described him as a deeply devoted father, someone who always put his children first. Family members echoed that, saying both Paris and her brother were well cared for in every aspect of their lives: education, health, and even their spiritual upbringing. Around that time, Michael had just completed the History World Tour and stepped back from music for a while to focus on his family. While he occasionally appeared in public with his eldest son, Paris remained almost entirely out of sight. The few photos that surfaced showed a quiet, protected childhood, one filled with care, comfort, and love. But that sense of peace didn't last for long. As Paris entered her teenage years, she and her brothers slowly began stepping into the public eye. And with that visibility came growing curiosity. Questions about her background, once whispered, started gaining real attention as pieces of the past began to resurface. As Paris Jackson appeared more frequently alongside Michael Jackson at events and on trips, people couldn't help but notice her distinct features: light brown hair, blue eyes, and a complexion that stood out. What seemed like small observations quickly turned into widespread speculation about the origins of Michael's children. The speculation intensified in the years that followed, especially after the Michael Jackson passed away in 2009. Without him there to respond, defend, or clarify, the conversation shifted in a way it never had before. Media outlets, documentaries, and online discussions began revisiting old interviews and statements, trying to piece together a narrative that had long been considered settled. At the center of it all was Paris Jackson, who suddenly found herself navigating not only grief, but also a global spotlight filled with questions about her identity. As she grew older, Paris began addressing some of the speculation in her own way. In interviews, she consistently referred to Michael as her father, emphasizing that he raised her, loved her, and shaped her life. For her, biology seemed secondary to the bond they shared. Those close to the family supported this perspective, reinforcing the idea that Michael's role as a parent was never defined by public opinion or controversy. Still, the mystery has never fully faded. In the age of social media and constant information sharing, old claims can quickly resurface and gain traction. Yet through it all, Paris has continued building her own identity, stepping into music, modeling, and acting while carrying forward a legacy that is both deeply personal and endlessly scrutinized. How did Michael react to these speculations while he was alive? Now that he's long gone, what's the case like? Keep watching to find out. How Michael Jackson protected his children. Michael, however, remained guarded. Whenever he took his children out, he made deliberate efforts to shield them from cameras, often covering their faces to maintain their privacy. And in one interview, he explained his reasoning clearly. He wanted his children to have a normal life, away from the pressures of fame they never chose. But that level of secrecy only fueled more curiosity. Then, in 2003, during the documentary Living with Michael Jackson, he addressed the issue more directly. He stated that he had used his own sperm and worked with a surrogate to have his children. At the time, that statement was taken as his clearest and most official explanation of his biological connection to them. But just a few years later, the narrative took a sharp turn and the public reaction was explosive. After the passing of Michael Jackson, Debbie Rowe gave an interview to the British press that stunned audiences. She reportedly claimed she was only a surrogate and that the children were not conceived using Michael's sperm. That single statement ignited global headlines and turned a private family matter into a full-blown public debate. Before the dust could settle, another voice entered the conversation. Mark Lester, best known for his role in Oliver, came forward with a surprising claim. He said he had been a close friend of Michael and had once offered to donate sperm. He even suggested that it was possible the children could be his. As the speculation grew, attention also shifted to Arnold Klein, who had long-standing ties to both Michael and Debbie. When asked directly, he denied being the father, but his carefully worded response left room for interpretation, which only deepened public curiosity. Things escalated further when he shared a photo with Prince Jackson, adding a cryptic single letter as a caption. That small detail triggered a wave of theories, debates, and renewed speculation about the true story behind the Jackson children. At that point, what began as quiet curiosity had turned into a global mystery, one fueled by conflicting statements, unanswered questions, and a legacy too powerful to ignore. As Paris Jackson entered her teenage years, the spotlight intensified. Every detail, her looks, her behavior, was closely watched and endlessly discussed. During this time, Michael Jackson chose to step back even further, keeping his children away from the media. Those close to him said he focused on being present, spending his days teaching them, playing piano together, and emphasizing values like kindness and compassion. According to a close friend, Michael saw fatherhood as a sacred responsibility. Whatever the rumors, he never questioned his love for his children. Years later, as an adult, Paris reflected on that upbringing in interviews. She described her father as a kind man who tried to shield them from the harsh realities of public judgment. He taught her that a person's true worth lies in how they treat others. Her words made one thing clear. Despite all the speculation, her respect and gratitude for him never changed. Still, the silence from Michael during those years left many questions unanswered. People who were around him offered different perspectives, but no single account could fully settle the issue. Each new claim, each resurfaced detail only made the story more complex. Eventually, the noise faded and many assumed the story had come to an end. Did it? What is the truth in all of these? Let's see. The DNA result that changed everything. While the media dissected every connection around Michael, Paris was moving forward with her own life. She stepped into the entertainment industry, exploring acting, modeling, and music, gradually building her own identity outside her father's shadow. Despite the ongoing questions about her background, Paris chose not to engage deeply with the speculation. When she did speak, she kept it simple. She was raised with love and care, and to her, a father is the person who shows up every day. Meanwhile, deeper investigations into Arnold Klein's clinic revealed that it held years of Michael's medical records, including details from the period when he was planning to have children, adding yet another layer to an already complex story. Documents reportedly showed that Michael Jackson underwent several medical procedures over the years, including treatments related to skin and hormone care. This detail fueled more speculation about the role of those in his medical circle. In the years that followed, some former clinic staff claimed they had seen Debbie Rowe visiting for pregnancy-related checkups. These claims were later repeated in media reports, reinforcing the idea that Michael's personal and professional circles were deeply intertwined during that period. Still, official medical records remained confidential, and none of these claims were publicly verified. In later interviews, Michael repeatedly expressed pride in his children, saying they meant everything to him. That statement was often played again in memorial programs after his passing, reinforcing a consistent theme. Regardless of speculation, his bond with his children was deeply meaningful. As Paris Jackson grew older, she often described her early childhood as the most peaceful time in her life. When Michael Jackson passed away, she was just 11 years old. His sudden death changed everything. The responsibility of raising the children then shifted to extended family members. But for Paris, her father's presence never really disappeared. In a television interview, she said he was the most wonderful person she had ever known and openly expressed her love for him. That moment quickly spread across media platforms and was widely seen as a reflection of their strong bond. She later appeared at memorial events honoring him. At a tribute in Los Angeles, she gave a brief but emotional speech, thanking her father for his music and the love he shared with the world. It was the first time she spoke publicly about him on such a large stage, and it was widely covered internationally. In later conversations, Paris consistently credited Michael as a major influence in her life. She spoke about how he taught her kindness, respect, and compassion for animals. When asked what she missed most, she reflected on one of his core beliefs, that love was the greatest legacy a person could leave behind. Beyond words, she also carried his memory in personal ways. She got tattoos inspired by him and participated in artistic projects influenced by his music, keeping his presence part of her life as she built her own identity. In an interview, Paris Jackson said that every time she performs, she thinks of her father, Michael Jackson, and feels he is still present in everything she does. In public conversations, she often shifted the focus away from biology and towards something deeper, family as love and connection, not just genetics. She put it simply, her father taught her how to live and how to love, and for her, that was enough. What was Paris Jackson's reaction? How did she confirm the rumors? Keep watching to find out. Paris Jackson confirms rumors. After years of silence, Paris Jackson eventually stepped forward in the media to address the reported DNA test results that had reignited public debate around her identity. In an interview broadcast in early 2025, Paris Jackson addressed the long-running speculation about her origins. She stated that the DNA results indicated Michael Jackson was not her biological father. However, she made it clear that this did not change anything for her emotionally. In her words, he was still the man who raised her, the one she loved and respected deeply. The interview was filmed in a simple, calm setting, and her tone remained steady throughout. Paris explained that she chose to take the test herself, not because of public pressure, but to bring closure to a story that had followed her for years. "I want to be clear," she said. "I did this for myself, not for the public." She also revealed that she had known the truth for some time but chose not to speak publicly, saying she wanted to protect her father's image and legacy. According to her, what mattered more was not biology, but what he meant to the world and to her personally. Her statement quickly spread across media platforms and reignited global attention. Still, she remained composed, consistently emphasizing the emotional bond she shared with him. At the same time, old footage and images of Michael caring for his children resurfaced on television and online, reinforcing the strong father-daughter connection many people had always associated with them. Paris concluded by reflecting on her upbringing, saying she felt fortunate to have grown up surrounded by his love, regardless of genetic ties. "My father taught me how to be kind and respectful to others. Those values matter more than blood," Paris Jackson said. After the results were confirmed, she shifted her focus fully into music and creative expression. Through her work, she explored themes like love, memory, healing, and inner strength. The goal, she explained, was to be recognized as an independent artist, not just as the daughter of Michael Jackson. At the launch of her album, she said her songs came from real experiences, describing them as pieces of her personal journey towards self-discovery. Alongside music, Paris became more active in advocacy work, especially around mental health and self-awareness. She partnered with organizations supporting young people dealing with identity pressure, often repeating a central message: no one is meant to live in someone else's shadow, and everyone has their own story. Her public appearances during this period reflected a more open and grounded presence, focused on growth and self-definition rather than public speculation. Why was the public so interested in the Jacksons? Who really was Michael Jackson? Paris's father, the greatest pop star to ever walk the world, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, born on August 29, 1958, was an American singer, songwriter, dancer, and philanthropist. Known as the King of Pop, he is widely seen as one of the most influential cultural figures of the 20th century. Over a career that spanned more than 40 years, he broke racial barriers in the music industry and became a global icon. His music, performances, and style changed pop culture in the most electrifying way, helping make music videos a powerful art form and popularizing dance moves like the moonwalk, the robot, and the anti-gravity lean. Many consider him the greatest entertainer of all time. He was the 8th child in the Jackson family and started performing at just 6 years old as the lead singer of the Jackson 5, one of Motown's biggest acts. He later launched a solo career, rising to fame with his 1979 album Off the Wall. His 1982 album Thriller became the best-selling album in history, with groundbreaking music videos for songs like Thriller, Beat It, and Billie Jean. He continued his success with Bad, which made history by producing 5 #1 hits in the US. His later albums, Dangerous and History, also delivered major hits like Black or White and You Are Not Alone, the latter becoming the first song to debut at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. His final studio album, Invincible, remains the most expensive album ever produced. From the mid-1980s onward, Jackson's life drew intense public attention, especially regarding his changing appearance and personal life. In 1993, he faced allegations of child sexual abuse. The case was settled out of court in 1994, and no charges were filed due to a lack of evidence. In 2005, he was tried again on similar charges, but was acquitted of all counts. In 2009, while getting ready for his comeback shows, This Is It, Michael Jackson lost his life from an alleged overuse of propofol. The substance had been given to him by his personal doctor, Conrad Murray, who was later found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in 2011. His passing shocked the world. It led to massive spikes in internet traffic and a sudden surge in his music sales. His memorial service, held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, was watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people globally. Jackson remains one of the best-selling music artists of all time, with over 500 million records sold as a solo artist. Alongside Paul McCartney and Phil Collins, he is one of the few artists to sell over 100 million records both as a solo act and as part of a group. He scored 13 #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, the most for any male solo artist, and is the only artist to have a top 10 hit in the US across 6 different decades. Over the years, he collected an extraordinary number of awards: 13 Grammy Awards, including the Grammy Legend Award and Lifetime Achievement Award, along with dozens of American Music Awards, World Music Awards, MTV Video Music Awards, and Brit Awards. He was also honored with 3 presidential awards and inducted into several halls of fame, including the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and the Dance Hall of Fame. Beyond music, Jackson was known for his generosity. He donated an estimated $500 million to charity, helping set a high standard for celebrity philanthropy. Even years after his passing, his legacy continues to grow, highlighted in 2024 when half of his music catalog was sold to Sony for $600 million, the largest deal ever for a single artist catalog. Even today, the influence of Michael Jackson can still be seen across every corner of the entertainment world. Modern pop stars to global stage performers, countless artists continue to draw inspiration from his sound, visuals, and unmatched stage presence. His ability to combine music, storytelling, and choreography set a blueprint that the industry still follows decades later. New generations, many of whom were born after his peak, continue to discover his work through streaming platforms, documentaries, and viral performances. His songs remain timeless, his visuals unforgettable, and his cultural impact nearly impossible to replicate. Whether through his groundbreaking artistry or his complex personal story, Michael Jackson remains a figure that the world continues to study, celebrate, and debate, solidifying his place as a legend. Presence still echoes far beyond his lifetime. What do you think about Paris's confirmation and revelations about her father? Does this revelation make you question Michael Jackson's greatness? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us as we explored Michael Jackson's legacy of fatherhood, trust, and devotion through Paris Jackson. We hope you found this video inspiring. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to explore more celebrity stories. See you there.